Hello guys, back again with another commentary video, this time for Halls of Infusion 21. I apologize for the background noise. I have a really cheap mic, but it's the best I have right now. So I apologize for the background noise. Anyways, this group composition was really weird for this week, for the incorporeal affix. I was mostly the one doing the CCs. I think there was at least 2 or 3 casts that went off as well. I don't think the paladins had turn evil, or actually they did, but maybe the ret was focusing more on the DPS. He wasn't really focusing on CCing the ad. The warrior did a good job. I mean, the warrior just has Stormbolt and Interrupt. So nothing to say for the first few packs. You're just gonna pull BL the first pack since it's 4th week. You're gonna do your AoE rotation on the highest HP. I usually do it on the defender, and I set focus on the apparatus just in case he casts expulse. I can interrupt it. Especially I was the only range in this group. So this pull was really weird because we had a BL debuff, BL buff. I mean, sorry. He could have easily just pulled the other pack as well, but maybe he was thinking that we just came off like the BL pack and we had no CDs, but it's totally doable. I mean, you have 2 apparatus, right? I agree, but the rest of the pack doesn't really do much. I mean, you have the frontal and you have these guys jumping around. Was definitely doable. Anyways, we continue as normal. You see the warrior just Stormbolt there. I should have CC'd earlier, but I was like in the middle of my burn. And at this point, I wasn't really sure like if other people were gonna CC or not. I was hoping the Holy Paladin would CC it, turn evil or anything. The warrior DC'd here, or the tank, he DC'd here, so he died. But he's gonna come back in a second. I try my best to kite. I use mirror image. I get a bop here as well, I think. Yeah, I get a bop. So actually there's something I haven't been doing in my previous runs, which is I'm usually, or like 99% of the time, I save shifting power after my big burn, but sometimes after I finish my mini burn I have shifting power. Before I didn't used to use it. I was just programmed to use it after my big burn, but it's actually much better if you just use it on cooldown pretty much. After your mini or big burn. Either one. For this pack, the triple apparatus, I would have wished the warrior would go, the tank would go like the left route, since we didn't have to deal with this pack. But if you have your big burn, it's definitely worth to waste it on this pack. And before the pack is even pulled, you alter time. It's a good place to alter time, just in case you get 3 of the containment bolt casts on you. You can just alter back up, and then you still have your greater invis block if they go on you again. Usually if you have 1 beam on you, it's fine, but if you have 2, and especially if you have 3, you have to pop a defensive. So I think this cast, I think it goes off. Maybe not, yeah, maybe not. So here I was a bit confused, like it wasn't CC'd. I think I do ask after this pack, like, do you have turn evil or not? And he said he did turn evil, but as you can see, it was pretty late. Oh, actually, he did turn evil, the other one. Oh, I see now. I just realized though. So stay for this pack or any pack where you have these guys that are jumping around, the Geomancers. Don't stand at range too far, because if they jump at you and you're like way too far, the melee DPS are going to lose a lot of DPS, and even without taking into consideration the melee DPS, because the packs become separated, so you lose a bit of AoE damage. So it's best to stay close. So I use my BL for this pack. I usually do it for this pack, but now that I think about it, I think it would be better if I saved my BL for the other pack. But because usually usually I have my big burn for this pack, and I have BL backup, so I usually just use it for this pack. But I think the pack after this is actually more dangerous. So if there's a chance that you can delay your big burn for the next pack, I think it's much better if you do a big burn and bloodlust on the next pack. But here I have both up, so I'm not gonna wait. I'm gonna use it for this pack, and then I'm gonna use my mini burn here, and then my big burn is gonna be back up for the boss. Actually, I think it's actually better this way, yeah, because my big burn is gonna be back up for the boss. And for this pack, if you just focus down one of the containment apparatus, I mean, it's gonna be easy because the defenders just do a frontal. I think the melee DPS get hit with a frontal. The red get hit with 2 frontals. Actually, he had double bleed buff, but good thing he didn't die. Not much to say so far. I mean, it's just your typical rotation, right? You can also alter time on this pack because there's 2 containment apparatus. I think that's what they're called. You mostly just alter time just in case the beam goes on you again. You can just alter back up instead of having to pop a defensive. Especially because alter time isn't on the global cooldown. So you save yourself a global as well. So I've realized for this boss, people still don't know how to manage the power overload debuff. I mean, they seem to run all over the place, and they run so far away, and they think they have to jump back. I mean, especially in the first phase of the fight, before he gets the shield, and the power overload drops like a smaller AoE. I think the tactic here is just to stack. The people with the debuff just stack, and they all drop the debuff, and then you just move back to the boss. I think that's the most efficient way. I make a big mistake here. I don't actually barrage and execute. As you can see for this one, I failed my barrage and execute because this boss starts on low HP, right? So you can definitely get a barrage and execute in your big burn and every burn afterwards. You can always barrage and execute basically because the boss starts with low HP. So I think this is a mistake I make on this boss specifically. And here again, I think I don't barrage and execute as last global of Touch of the Mage. I mean, yeah, I don't. So this is a small mistake on my part. I could definitely play that better. So for alter time, you can actually alter time the AoE cast, which is the static surge. But I recommend you alter time before it goes off by 3 or 4 seconds. So if you have any kind of add-on that you can track the timer for when it goes off, I usually just alter time 3 or 4 seconds before it goes off. That way I have my alter time cooldown back up earlier if I need it for something else. And for these orb ads or whatever they're called, you can DB the cast. I'm not sure if you can blast wave. I think I just blast wave it. I think I did blast wave, but I didn't focus if I did if it did interrupt or not. But it's definitely worth it to stop the cast. Because you have both DB and you have blast wave. You also have Ring of Frost, especially on tyrannical leaks, right? I mean, anything to help out your healer. This season is really... It has a lot of HPS checks. So as you can see here, I got the power overload. I'm trying to stack on the paladin, but he decides to... he decides, or the warrior, I mean, and he decides to just run away from me. But he has leap, so I guess he's fine. I tried to move to the side a bit so I don't block off his path. And you can see these double adds. I interrupt. I think I tried to sheep the other one, but thank God it got turn evil. And again, I'm trying to stack on the guy, and they just run away. So I just if I drop it behind him, it's gonna give him much less room, right? So I'm trying to stack on him, but if he moves away, he doesn't want to stack. I go to the side, so I give him more room to come back to the fight, basically. But I think the play here is everybody with the debuff just stack, and if you have a priest, you can just MD. You can just MD it instantly, and it's gonna get nerfed next patch. I think there is some data mining on Wowhead or something that's gonna get nerfed. The dot damage is gonna get nerfed, or the tick damage from the AoE rather. So I think our BL times are really weird. I considered BLing this pack, but I was like, it's not worth it. I mean, it's like a 3-pack, and so I saved it for another pack. But I tried to BL as early as I could. I could have saved it. I could have saved it for the two ads before the frog boss, but I would have delayed my BL so long by that time. I want to try to use it a bit early so I can get it back for the big pack before the Khajin or third boss fight. You know, the big pack with the dragon and the 2 casters and the 2 Tauren guys. So I tried to BL as early as I could, and the earliest I could was, I think I BL, yeah, I BL the pull after this one actually. For these frogs, don't get hit by them, because the melee does a lot of damage. See how much damage I'm taking from the melee. You're not gonna die by the poison stacks, but you might die just from the melee the frog is doing. So I use Ring of Frost here. You can use Blast Wave and you just kite around. Use your Ice Flows, use your Presence of Mind to continue casting while you move. These dragonflies, they put like a debuff on themselves where they evade damage, and I've had it sometimes evade my Radiant Spark, so it goes on cooldown but it gets evaded. So I waste my entire burn basically. So I'd caution against doing a big burn against these dragonfly ads, unless that debuff drops. I'm not exactly sure what the debuff is called, but I think it lasts like 5-6 seconds or something. So either you do your burn on the zealots or zealots, I don't know how it's pronounced, or you can just wait for the debuff to drop and then you can do your big burn. So I BL here. I mean, is it optimal? Probably not, but I didn't want to delay the BL too long. I was thinking I want the BL to be back up for, you know, the pack before the frog boss. But I think we don't actually get it back for that pack anyways. Use shift to buying on cooldown. For these ads, the shock troopers, I forgot to mention earlier, these they cast this elemental focus ad. They cast this elemental focus buff. Sorry. If it goes off, just spell steal it. It's not gonna help you DPS wise. Like, it doesn't give you like damage or haste or anything like that. But it really buffs up the damage of the ad itself. So it does like a chain lightning. But if it has the debuff up, it basically does it like a chain lightning. It does more chain lightning basically. I think on every cast it does like a chain lightning if it has the buff up. Don't stand in melee range because again they cast chain lightning. I think if the tank positions properly and everybody like positions far away from the tank, nobody gets hit. I'm not actually sure on that because the chain lightning goes on the ad and then it bounces around. So if we're spaced away from the tank, we shouldn't get hit. But I'm not sure about that one actually. For this pull, if you want to pad on the ads, you can basically cast evocation as soon as the pull starts. So by the time you start your big burn, the ads have already spawned, and you can just do your AoE rotation on the small Zephyr ads or whatever, the Zephyrling ads. So you're basically just evocation as soon as the pull starts. For this cast, I mean, you're supposed to get dispelled, but for this dungeon specifically, for Halls of Infusion, I would take, I mean, you have to take the Energized Barrier talent, which removes immobilizations and slows when you cast your Prismatic Barrier. You're gonna need it for this debuff, but not for this debuff because it can just get dispelled. You're gonna need it for the dragon ad, the big dragon ad, because the big dragon ad, he casts an AoE on everybody, and you're gonna see me. I'm gonna. Actually, I'll talk about it when we get there. But basically, you need Energized Barrier for this dungeon. So for the frog boss, I mean, I'm gonna say something, and this applies to every DPS. I see a lot of DPS, they try to pad on the frogs. Ideally, if you're playing this right, you don't need to hit the frogs at all. You can just single target on the boss. I think I get a bit greedy here, and I do AoE, but mostly you're just supposed to single target on the boss. And if you're stacking on the boss and you're playing it right, you have a druid who's gonna typhoon, stuff like that. You have Ring of Frost, you have your blast wave. The frogs just get eaten up by the gulp, right? You don't need to AoE them down. You don't need to, like. I think it's much better and faster to just single target on the boss, right? It makes sense, since there's already a mechanic that kills the frogs. You can alter time the Toxic Effluvia cast. It's basically just an AoE cast. You can also alter time actually the Overpowering Croak, which spawns the frogs. But what I usually do, I use the defensive for when the frogs spawn. So right now I think I use G-Invis. Yeah, I use G-Invis. Because when the frogs spawn, you also get like ticking damage, AoE damage, as you can see. And then I use my alter time for the Toxic Effluvia. And then I have my barrier up basically for the next time the frogs spawn. On Tyrannically Weak, if I see that I'm dropping low, I can just block either cast. I can block either the Overpowering Croak cast or the Toxic Effluvia. If you kite the frogs and you're playing it correctly, you're not gonna get hit too much by the frogs. Again, you have your Ring of Frost you can use. As you can see, I used it there. You have your Blast Wave, you have your Ice Nova, you have your Frost Nova. I mean, you have so many tools to help out with this with the gulp mechanic on this boss specifically. I don't actually use Ice Nova too much. I think I just I use alter time here, as you can see. Do I sheep here? Yeah, yes, I do sheep. Here I make actually a huge mistake. I can't rewind it now, but I got gulped. Something was going on in my head, I'm not sure what, but anyways, I got into range of the gulp and I got gulped, but thank God I had my block and I just blocked it, got out of it. But I didn't actually mean to do that. I'm not sure how to rewind while I'm making a voiceover. I'm still new to this, but I remember I had something in mind. I had something in mind that I messed up and I got gulped, but I didn't actually mean to do that. Here I was just checking the DPS meters. I was checking how much damage they did to the frogs compared to the boss, and if you rewind it, you can see they did a lot of pad damage on the frogs. So for this Proto Dragon, what you can do for this Deep Chill ad, you can see me. I'm alter timing. I use alter time. After it goes off, I use my prismatic barrier, so it removes the debuff, and then I alter back up to full HP. So basically you negate this entire mechanic by yourself. You can let your paladins freedom somebody else. They don't need to freedom you. So Energized barrier is pretty much a must for this dungeon, especially in Fortrix, right? And he just set focus the Ice Caller. He does. I mean, the only cast you're gonna interrupt is Refreshing Tides, right? Otherwise, excuse me, nothing to note for this boss, for this pack. Sorry. You're gonna see me do the same thing here with the Deep Chill cast. I'm gonna alter time, I'm gonna prismatic, I'm gonna alter back up, I'm full HP and I have no debuff. So you can deal with this mechanic by yourself, basically. So something else I didn't actually do it on this pull, but I did it on the next pull. Because these ads, they sometimes drop in like large, yeah, exactly, that thunderstorm maybe drops it under you. So what you can do, or what you should do actually, you should drop your Ring of Power and then move to the side. I'm gonna do it on the next pull, and you're gonna understand what I'm trying to say. So you drop basically your Ring of Power and you move a bit to the side. So if you get the thundering AoE under you, you can basically move to the right and you're still in range of your Ring of Power. Because if you drop your Ring of Power and you stand right on top of it, if they drop this AoE under you, you're gonna have to move out of the AoE, and you're not gonna be in range of your Ring of Power. So this is basically a little trick, a little trick you can do so you can stay in range of your Ring of Power. Ring of Power is like a 40% damage increase, right? It's really important that you try to utilize it as much as you can. Well, until 10.1.5 gets released and it finally gets removed from the game. So I actually I tried to BL earlier so I can get BL back up for this pack, but as you can see, it's still not up. But whatever. I think the tank dies here. I mess up that alter time prismatic barrier trick. I have no idea how I didn't pull aggro after the tank died. I usually just pull aggro and I die, and my burn goes to waste, and I get really it just feels bad, you know. It feels bad, man. Feels bad if you just throw out your Radiant Spark and then something happens and you die, and your evocation is on cooldown and you just use Radiant Spark, and you know it's really weird. But anyways, shit happens. Don't try to play perfectly, right? Like, I don't think anybody plays perfectly. It's rare you see somebody plays the dungeon perfectly. You're gonna do mistakes here and there, but it's much better that you become a consistent player. If you become a consistent player, your healer is gonna love you, and you're gonna do well on the DPS meters. You're gonna time more keys because you're playing consistently. You're playing the affix. You're using your utility properly, and especially as a mage, right? You have lots of defensives, you have lots of utility. Alter time is like the most, in my opinion, it's the most overpowered defensive spell in this entire game. Especially for PvE. I haven't played PvP. I haven't played PvP mage since like Wrath of the Lich King. But I'm pretty sure it's strong in PvP as well, even though it can be dispelled. Anyways, we BL here. Don't keep your back. It's important you don't keep your back to one of the unbroken glaciers. So what you're going to do here is you're going to do your big burn. After you're finished from your big burn, your next Ring of Power, you're going to actually drop it behind the glacier. You're going to stand behind. So you can be in your Ring of Power for the entire duration. For both Ring of Powers. And of course you're going to have a mouseover macro just to polymorph. Don't keep your back to the unbroken glaciers. Care for the cyclones. After she does the cyclone, you can basically just go stand behind the glacier. Unless you need to stand inside an AoE for the healer, like the wild growth or something like that. I block here just in case because the healer died, he got CR'd. So he needed some help to, you know. So it was a good time to block. For defensives, you can basically just rotate your defensives on cooldown, because for this boss you get ticking damage for the entire fight. There's no specific case where you're getting bursted damage or something like that. So you can basically grate your invis whenever you can see your healer has no cooldowns up. If you're in Discord and you're in a coordinated group, I think your healer is going to call out for you when you should use your defensives, right? But in general, I usually don't use my defensives early, because healers usually use their cooldowns early in the fight, right? So you can use it later in the fight, especially as things become more chaotic. You're going to drop low. Healer has no CDs, so I use this mentality basically for every fight when I'm plugging specifically. You can actually, using OmniCD, you can see what your healer has up. I mean, you can game it like that if you want to be. But I basically just I delay my defensives a bit for this fight specifically. So for this gauntlet, I mean, this is the best thing about Season 2 Mythic Plus, right? This gauntlet right here. This is the most fun thing in the game at the moment. There's actually a spot you can bug it out. You can stand, I think, on the edge of one of the these these platforms that are sticking out. I've seen people do it. I've tried to do it before and I died, so I haven't tried to do it again, to be honest. But I know it's possible. I don't know exactly how it's done. If somebody sees a video or knows how it's done specifically, you can basically just stand on the outer edge and you don't need to move, and you don't get hit by these tidal waves, so you don't need to move at all. You don't need to like game it, go left and right, whatever. I usually just stand in the middle, so I can drop my ROP in the middle, my Ring of Power, and whether I'm moving left or right, I'm still within range of my Ring of Power. Again, for the deep chill cast, you alter. After the cast goes off, you prismatic barrier, and then you alter back. I mean, do you actually need to do this? Well, no, because you're not. I mean, you're not gonna die, right? You have a healer. What's his job? To heal you. Do we not agree? But I try to play to the best of my abilities, right? If I can do something to help out the healer, why not? Am I gonna lose some DPS? Yes. But overall, if I'm gonna guarantee that I stay alive longer or guarantee that I stay alive, I think it's a good trade-off. Maybe the healer just has no CDs, maybe he gets a lag spike, whatever. I try to play to the best of my abilities. I try to relieve pressure from my healer as much as I can. I've played healer before, so I know how it feels when you play with DPS who refuse to use any sort of defensives, who refuse to use their utilities. They think they're just there to deal damage, and it's the worst feeling. I mean, nobody wants to play with a DPS like that. Even if you're top on the meters, but you don't do interrupts, you don't have any stops, or you have stops but you don't use your stops. I'd much rather play with the DPS that's lower on the meters, but he's actually willing to play the game. So for this mini boss, you basically use your defensive on the inundate cast, that cast. If you can actually tell the group not to interrupt the aqueous barrier. If the aqueous barrier goes off, you can actually spell steal it. You can keep it for yourself as a defensive, but I mean, it's not too important. You can actually tell the group, but whatever. You can't tell them before, like, not to interrupt any cast. I mean, that's the only interruptible cast she does, right? I mean, especially in a coordinated group, you can just tell your friends not to interrupt at all. And whenever she gets the cast off, you can steal it, and you don't have to use a defensive for the inundate cast. And the red guys again, greedy again. I agree. I mean, now it's just like a huge waste of time, right? Because the red died, then we have to kill these before we drop combat, and then we have to res them. Imagine if we just played the game there properly and didn't die, and I mean, we could have saved a lot of time. But anyways, shit happens. I sometimes lose my train of thought as I'm trying to say something, because something happens in the video and I'm trying to comment on that specific thing, and I kind of interrupt my train of thoughts and I don't get back to it. I realize I did that a lot with my other video, so I'm trying to get better at it slowly. For this boss, you can basically alter time on pull, because he's gonna do the Tempest Fury cast, and that's what you want to use your defensives on, the Tempest Fury. For the infused globals, it's better if you stack, and even if it's better if you stack with the group, because the infused globules they spawn under you, right? So if you stack up, they're all gonna spawn in one location. Then you have like an entire area that's free. You especially don't want to stand right on your Ring of Power as they spawn, because if you get like a, as you can see, I GM'd this cast for Tempest Fury. So you don't want to stand on your Ring of Power on your Ring of Power as the infused globules cast goes off, because if an infused globule drops right on top of your ring of power, it can be a bit awkward to stay on it, stay within range. So just move out a bit. If your ring of power is down, just move out a bit to the right or to the left. Let the globules drop on the ground, and then you can move back to your ring of power. So for this add phase, you have your DB, you have your blast wave for the stop, and you also should always just CC. As soon as you get inside the arena, just CC any target, because while he CCs, he's not casting Infuse, right? And he's not casting Inundate. I think the meta here, I did tell them CC2 and kill 2. I'm not sure if that's the meta currently, but I think, I mean, especially for our key level, I mean, it works out fine for us. There's two things I forgot to say. So first of all, if you do your big burn as soon as the boss is pulled, you're gonna see the boss is gonna submerge in the middle of your mini burn, or like right as you finish at 3 or 4 stacks of Radiant Spark of your mini burn. But that's fine. You don't get to finish your mini burn, but there's so much time wasted in this mini gauntlet bullshit that you just end up getting your big burn again. Maybe in higher keys it's worth actually just pulling them all, and you stun them and you do a mini burn on them. I think this might work in coordinated groups. You can see here I failed my alter time, so I blocked. Yeah, so going back to the ads, basically when you pull the boss, just do your big burn, and then you're gonna feel that if you have like a timer, DBM, whatever, you're gonna see the boss is gonna submerge soon. You might think it's not worth the mini burn, but it's actually worth it, because there's so much time wasted. Your big burn is gonna be back up by the time the boss spawns. And I'm gonna say one other thing. There's actually a trick here. I've heard about it. I have not done it personally, but you can actually alter time before the boss submerges, I think at around 7 to 8 seconds before the boss submerges. And you can alter back. As an example, I tried to do it here, but I was way too late. You can see I have alter time. So imagine I alter time a bit sooner. While you're in the bubble in the air, you can actually alter back to your location in the middle of the arena, and you can just try DBSing the ads instantly. I've heard about this. I've never seen it done, but it's something I wanted to mention because it came to mind. I'm not sure if it's actually possible, but I have heard about it. So here I'm just confused why we have so little time. I was just checking the depth. We were so close on the timer, I think. Actually not that close, because the boss is like 7% HP, right? I tried to I think I tried to interrupt an ad just so we can get this done faster. I still have my DB, I have my blast wave, so I was confident we can do at least 3 ads here. And now my BL is back up. I BL for like the last 7%. Yeah, so we finished it with like 35 seconds left or something. So it was pretty tight, but I think overall I played it well, except for a few mistakes here and there. So that's it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.